Hey guys, Mike here. I'm back from Switzerland where I spent 5 days on some business, private business, and it was awesome. The air was absolutely wonderful, and it was of course beautiful because it's, Switzerland comes with the territory, literally. And we spent a lot of money there. This is the most expensive country I've ever been to. And it's interesting because I actually grew up there as a kid. We went to kindergarten there in 1970, I think. And it was a different time back then, but it was always expensive, obviously. But boy, oh boy, you have to be really in a particular income bracket to live there. I've never paid $10 for 2 small coffees before. Anyway, not to compare with Spain, but it's just gorgeous. And we're back, and I came back on Friday and then was, of course, right back to work because there were a few things that I had to fix in preparation of this week's rollover. Because the last one, on last Sunday night to Monday, didn't work out so well. That's why we had to go in and make some manual changes. Scott rang me up, kicked me out of bed again at 2 a.m. And I had to go in and make some manual changes based on some of the statistics that Scott had collected. And of course, it was all due to the fact that we had added a few new coins to the system that looked really good in terms of their early breakout pattern. And you might remember, right, the theory and the hypothesis that the early breakout based on Eugene Fama, the Nobel Prize winner in finance, the early assets that are spearheading in advance, usually the ones turn out to be the big winners. And so what happens is that each bull market, each generation of bull markets has their stable of winners, like a stable of horses, right? Those are the strong runners, and those usually lead the market. Those are the ones you want to be in, and there's a lot of material about that, a lot of white papers, and that's what we implement into the system. So when we looked at this particular leg that was developing, which we knew it was, as you might recall, we realized that the ones we had in the shared group of coins that we were trading with this system, with Cryptonaissance, which was around, I think, somewhere around 30 coins or so, 32, 34. The stronger ones, based on the statistics, were not in there. And, well, actually, that's not true. Some of them were in there, but some of the new and upcoming ones were not in there. So we started to include them, and that caused some havoc on the server side and on the client side, I might add. So let's talk about that. First up, good news is that I think that I really fixed the server side, and that it was due to a problem with the exchange, because the reason why I use Kraken as my data source is because it has Forex data, and we need Forex data in here to do some of the fancy conversion. If you for instance, are not trading USD, you might be thinking in euros or British pounds or even yen, right? So based on that, I need the Forex data, and it's pulling that via some JavaScript. All the details you really don't care about, but in the end, that caused an issue because Kraken didn't have some of these coins. So what I had to do is switch that part of the code over to Binance. So I had to do some refactoring, which is a fancy word for structuring out and cleaning out and improving your code in a fashion that's more modular, that's more reusable, and that you can do other things with it potentially. So I kind of split it out so that now the crypto stuff that you see down here, and we're going to talk about that in a second, is coming from Binance, not Binance US, Binance.com, and the rest comes from the Forex stuff, right? Comes from Kraken, which is per my knowledge, the only crypto exchange that has the ones we want. Okay, so that's done. That seems to be working. Also did some fixes on the front end. You guys noticed it didn't look so great. That also had to do with the coins that the script didn't have. So it was also causing some issues on the layout front for some reason because it didn't have the icons. So The first thing you're going to notice when you look at the current report, which is week number 33, right, which ends today, midnight, August 22nd, before we roll into the 23rd, which is a Monday. That's week number 33 of 2021. Two of the coins have changed. Why? Well, because we picked them manually last week. Well, Scott actually picked them. He had run the statistics ahead of time. Thanks for doing that, Scott, because we needed to put them in manually. And so he picked them pretty well, but he didn't pick them exactly. So you see that two of the coins have changed. Rep and RSR are in there now. Luna, FTT, and Mana were in the old selection. And you might be holding those. That's not a problem if you held the other coins. Just to be clear, okay, it's not a problem. You did the right thing. I expect them. I don't know exactly how they all performed yet. I haven't done the numbers yet, but I expected them to perform in line with, the altcoin group as a whole, and hopefully also outperform the group as a whole. It's supposed to be one of the stronger ones, right? Now, a few things to consider here. First up, let's reload this page because there's something important. Why is it always taking so long? Well, actually, there's not much going on. It's already loaded. It's just waiting for all the data to arrive because it's pulling a bunch of data, and you can't just go to a crypto exchange and pull a shitload of data from them because they will throttle you, and especially if there's like 100 people, 200 people all of a sudden, right, accessing it. So you want to throttle it so it takes a little bit longer, okay? And that's why it's doing that little preloading thing here, that takes you 15 seconds or so. The first thing you're going to see is there's still one problem with the front end, and that's still the case because, why? Because this one is still going to Kraken. It doesn't get the live data of Luna and RSR and also FTT. And that means that it's not getting any data. It's not able to do a proper calculation of the distribution here. You see, it's all zero. Now, there's a little trick here that I figured out. All you have to do is to unselect one of them and then reselect them, and then it's actually going to go and pull the last data it knows, which is the data that I set on the server side, and have it inside the JavaScript, and it's the closing data from last week, from last Sunday, right? So that would be the 15th. And it's not perfect, but it's good enough, right, for calculating distribution. Of course, you can double check, on your end. Of course, if there was a huge move, then this might be a little bit off. But it's a workaround from now. Of course, we're going to get that fixed. Just to be clear, I'm not going to leave it like this. But for this week, please put up, you have to put up with that. That'll work around. Well, thank you very much in advance for your patience. What else is new? Well, you probably have seen this. What is this block here? Well, we only traded Ethereum the week before. This is actually a tree map. And you're going to see it once you see these coins up here as the returns, then you're going to see the tree mapping properly populated. Okay? And again, it's going to be these coins, not the ones we actually traded, right? There's obviously Rep and RSR, and I think on the other side, what was it? I forgot. I think it was LSK, right? And I think Comp, right? Or Uni. And so there's some difference. We're not going to show those up here because I would have to put them all in manually, and it's going to cause a big issue. And if you want those numbers, I'm sure Scott's going to have them, and he's going to email them to me overnight, and then I can share them with you guys, right, if you're curious. Okay, so that's a few little differences, I think, to keep in mind. Now, why did we make this change in the first place? You know why? And, well, this, of course, caused some issues, right, for some of you guys, especially traders in the US. And I'm not going to pretend this is never going to go away. There's some workarounds we can use, right, to make things a little bit easier for ourselves. But it's, a situation where no exchange really has them all. So you're going to have to spread out yourself as best as you can. And that sometimes you might just have to resort to just switching these coins. And so let's talk about this one. This functionality basically allows you, it's something I implemented, right? This little check mark allows you to just switch a coin off. And then you see how the numbers change because it basically recalculates. So you don't have to do it on your own. You can unselect up to 2 coins. I cannot I'd select 3 coins because I don't want you to trade less than that if you don't have to. Now, it's possible that you might not have more than 2. Then, I don't know. Figure something out and just split between what you have and keep the rest in Ethereum or Bitcoin, whichever one is stronger. Just look up the Bitcoin Ethereum chart. I'm sorry, Ethereum Bitcoin, and if it's going up, then trade Ethereum. If it's going down, then trade Bitcoin. Okay, does it make sense? So, on top of the coins you actually grab. So that's a little workaround you can use, right? So here you turn them back on. Now, what else? Well, yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up on that. And how could I forget the numbers here? What does that mean? All of a sudden we have 3 columns. What does that mean? Nothing has changed here. It's just on some weeks in the future, while we're in altcoin mode, what's going to happen is that you're going to have, let's say you're going to hold Luna one week, right? And then the next week you're going to hold Luna again, but the distribution has changed because the valuation has changed. So you might actually be holding already, and it's, 300 of them. Right? So what you do, you just put in, let's say 320 or whatever, 331. That's the ones you bought, right? You bought 331s last week. You're supposed to hold 487 this week. So what we do, well, you have to buy another 156, right? So that's something where you can use this interface to account for that. Okay, it's very simple. Otherwise, it just set it to 0. What I just realized actually a bit earlier is that I didn't account for this, where you have like a minus number, right? So, if you have to sell some, well, then just you figure it out. Use the calculator. I figured we covered this some other time. What else? Yeah, let's talk quickly about Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has been kissing Bitcoin USDT, right? So it has been kissing the 50,000 mark, and that's actually really important. Just a round number, psychologically very important. But you can also see that it was observed before, right here. Before it was resistance, then it became support. Before we hit into the final phase of this bull market, the previous bull market, then it became support again, was breached. And now it's going to act, already has once acted as resistance. Well, not really yet. It's slightly below. 48 is the number. But 50,000 is really where it's baked in. And we were close. We were I think the highest I saw, highest quarter was 49,700 something. It's pulling back a little bit. And I'm thinking it's probably going to pull back a little bit more probably. And scare the children a little bit. And then eventually pop higher. Because it's an important threshold, and then it's gonna most likely retest again up here, maybe once or twice even, and then when it finally takes off, it's really gonna take off like gangbusters. And I hope this statement ages well, but that's the way I see it based just on the formation here. Okay, let's see if I'm right. What else? Yeah, in terms of the exchanges, right? If you in the US, for instance, right, open a KuCoin account, it's a lot less painful, more painless than Binance or Kraken or anything. And you cannot buy coins on here. You cannot buy Bitcoin on here with assets. You actually have to transfer it in, right? So buy your Bitcoin somewhere else, a different exchange, and then transfer it in. There might be a holding period of a month, not a month, sorry, a week. I hope not a month. There might be a holding period. They do that. A lot of exchanges do that, and especially exchanges in the US, because regulations breathing down their neck, and they need to make sure that KYC procedures, of course, when you get in, but also while you're there and you're using their services, then they make sure that there's not a lot of fraud and theft going on, because makes the headlines. It's gonna tank them, and it's gonna just invoke even more ire of the regulatory authorities. Not that I think it's bad to get regulated. Just for the record, I think we need more regulated exchanges, well regulated, not over regulated. But so to the extent that we don't lose our money, right? We don't want to lose our coins. So yeah, welcome that. Yes, I welcome. I for one welcome our new regulatory overlords. So. What else? Yeah, even KuCoin is not going to have all the coins, unfortunately. It just comes with the territory. Go to Bittrex then, or just do what I said, right? You just go and trade what you can when you can, based on your location, and spread the rest over. Again, let me demonstrate this real quick. Let's say we go on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin. That's not coming up. 1 second. Ethereum, okay. You guys see it? Do you see it? I see only Ethereum USDT. Oh yeah, Ethereum here, down here, Bitcoin. All right, so I'm actually still in Ethereum from last week because I was about to travel and I couldn't really deal with all this, all these changes, and I was leaving on a Monday. So I'm actually holding Ethereum, and that was not a good thing this week because I'm going to be down actually a bit. Well, not against Bitcoin, meaning that against the dollar I'm still up, but against Bitcoin I would have been better off from being in Bitcoin. But how do you know? So this is basically when I'm referring to what I told you before, right? When you, let's say you don't have enough coins available, then split as best as you can and then keep the rest in whatever you see leading. So if you pull up the Ethereum Bitcoin pair, right? Again, quote currency and the base currency. Well, what's the base currency? The base currency is the one that's being expressed, right? And the quote currency is the one that's being quoted in, and the base currency is the one that you're actually want to look at, right? Let's say a simple example is the Euro USD. If I give you Euro USD quote of, let's say, 118, which is what it is right now, somewhere like that, plus minus, right? Then, well, you have to pay $1.18 to buy yourself €1, right? So if your Euro USD at 118 means that what? Well, it's quoted in USD, right? So that's the quote. The USD is the quote currency, and the base currency is the one that you're trying to express via dollars. Make sense? So it would be the euro is the base currency, and the quote currency is the dollar, Euro USD, right? So here the base currency is Ethereum, and the quote currency is Bitcoin, right? So we're expressing Ethereum in Bitcoin terms, right? So you only need 0.065521 right now, Bitcoin, to buy 1 Ethereum. Clear, right? And that means that, you're expressing in Bitcoin terms Ethereum, and for that, if it's dropping, you want to be in Bitcoin, and if it's rising, if it's on a trend up, then you want to be in Ethereum. Makes sense? Sort of, right? Yeah, and that's that. I think that's all I have to share for this Sunday. It's probably more time than you wanted to ever spend. It's 20 minutes of your life you never get back. We're going to dive right back in. I hope the rollover works fine tonight. If not, once again, I'm going to have to be rung out of bed and fix it somehow. Scott will be there to oversee everything because he's in a much more conducive, favorable time zone than I am. Question came up: Why are you doing this? They call me Mo on the other blog, right? Evil speculator. Why are you doing this at 2 a.m.? This not really works for you. Why did you build the system on that? Well, build the system not around me, because it should be this way. I should be the center of the universe, but unfortunately I'm not. So my wife keeps telling me that, reminding me of that every day. So it's based on UTC, Universal Time Code, and that's what we base the system on. Why? Because that's what the quotes are based on. That's what all the, not all exchanges actually, but that's what at least our API that we're using uses to express the date format. And that's what usually everyone refers to as well. So the rollover happens at midnight. That's what our system is based on. So it's UTC. Not good for me here in Europe because it's at 2 a.m. at night. Well, that's kind of, when things break, it's painful for me, but that's what I do, right? So anyway, I hope you guys have a nice Sunday. I hope this was, 8 hours to go here. I hope this was educational and prepares you for the new rollover.
and
hopefully Bitcoin pushes up again. It keeps dropping a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm right. It's going to do a little bit more retest before it's ready to do the 50,000. So I'll leave you with that. Talk to you next week. Cheers.